Hello and welcome to this edition of News Now on ET Now. I'm Shreyansi Singh, and first up, let's get started by looking at the top story of the day. And that, of course, is Uday Kotak stepping down as Kotak Mahindra Bank's Managing Director and CEO with effect from September 1. Now, the lender informed the stock exchanges today about this, and Kotak will, however, continue as a non-executive director and as an interim arrangement. Dipak Gupta, who's the joint managing director, will carry out the duties of the MD and CEO. Now, we have the managing editor of the channel joining us right now with insights worth noting about this very important development. Hi, end of an era for Kotak Mahindra Bank. How are you penciling in this new development?
Shanti, it is indeed an end of an era. And given that what Mr. Kotak has built in terms of a franchise, if a pedestal of great bankers in the world has to be made, and I mean it, in the world has to be made, Uday Kotak's name would be right on the top of the pedestal. From the franchise he's created, a built-to-last bank, a bank which has been built on simple core principles of risk management, customer satisfaction, and it is really centered around the basic ethos.
That is definitely an important development coming in. We seem to have you on a patchy line, but we'll connect back later. Well, I think we do have you. So let's hear it from Nikunj Dalmia, the managing editor of the channel. Right, so we do seem to have him on a patchy line right now, but let's look at the take coming in from HP Ranina, who's the advocate at the Supreme Court. And he says that Uday Kotak may explain early exit to shareholders in the AGM. Listen in to a slice of this conversation.
Well, frankly, you can't speculate exactly what is the reason. The only issue is why has he stepped down 4 months ahead of the date on which he was supposed to retire. But there may be some good reason. So I don't know. I don't think anything is regulatory because Kotak Mahindra is known for its compliance. It is a very well-managed bank. Uday Kotak himself is a man, great professional. So I don't think there could be any regulatory issue. But maybe he wants to sort of handhold his successor, and therefore he wants to step down and allow him to take over for the next 4 months so that while he's still non-executive director, he can guide him. So possibly that could be the reason, but I don't think that it could be anything fishy or anything suspicious.
Well, that was the take coming in from HP Ranina, but we do have Nikunj Dalmia, the managing editor of this channel, joining us again. Tell us what you think about this development.
Shanti, look, this is something which should not come as a bolt out of the blue. This is something which is, in a sense, is something which markets were anticipating and expecting. You may call it a coincidence, but the top brass of Kotak Mahindra Bank, the chairman, Mr. Kotak, and the joint managing director, their term ends by this year. So I would call this decision of resignation or a voluntary resignation by Mr. Kotak as a pure indication of successful planning. B, what it means for Kotak Mahindra Bank, but more importantly, Uday Kotak as a personality. If a pedestal of great bankers in the world has to be made, I guess Mr. Uday Kotak's name as a banker would be right there on the pedestal. For a franchise he's created, for a bank which is built to last, and for the reward he's giving to shareholders. It needs no introduction whatsoever. The ethos of Kotak Mahindra Bank has been risk management and customer satisfaction. Mr. Kotak as a personality, I mean, I've had the honor and pleasure of interacting with him for over 2 decades now, and I distinctly remember in 2003 when he got the banking license for the first time. He, in a sense, wanted to really make a franchise which will make India proud, and he's managed to do that. Kotak Mahindra Bank has a fantastic journey, and it is still a young bank, even though it is almost 20 years old. In the dark time of 2000, Indian banking sector went through a dark patch between 2015 and 2018 or 2014 to 2018. But that was a time when Kotak Mahindra Bank, in a sense, was able to really risk manage the balance sheet. They've not had any crisis. They've dealt with the 2008 crisis, the COVID crisis very efficiently. That's largely because the lending practices and the management practice what the bank has followed. And if I talk about Mr. Kotak, purely as an entrepreneur, as somebody, as a personality, look, he's always been there when India needed him. And the case in point here is post-Thailand crisis, he was right there. He coordinated with the government in terms of all the firefighting efforts. So if you have to really, summarize Mr. Kotak's journey, I guess it really would be of a champion who's managed to make all a difference. 1985, Kotak Mahindra as a brand was an unknown brand, but in 2023, it has become an unforgettable brand. And the golden thread, which in a sense has really connected it, is the entrepreneurial skill of Mr. Kotak, his ethos, his ability to manage the balance sheet, and his foresight in terms of understanding the macro and the micros, and how smartly he was really able to connect it with the lending business. So I think it's not an end of an era, but yes, it is just a coincidence, Shanti, that this year you actually have seen rather two important announcements. Either Dipak has retired, and Mr. Kotak has decided to resign from the executive capacity of Kotak Mahindra Bank. And these are two bankers which, in a sense, really will find a name on the Hall of Fame when it comes to the Indian banking sector. Shanti?
Right. Well, this was the journey of a champion, and Mr. Uday Kotak's name is definitely on a pedestal, and that's the word coming in from Nikunj Dalmia, the managing editor of ET Now. Thank you so much for joining in, sir. Now, let's take the conversation forward with experts. Somit Sarkar is standing by with more details on the phone line.
Hello, Somit Sarkar joining you. Hi Aditya, hi Gurmeet. My first question to you would be to Gurmeet. Now, given the fact that Uday Kotak has resigned a bit early than his tenure was getting completed, do you expect the street to take this announcement negatively?
No, I don't think so. I think in fact it is positive and speaks of that the bank is actually prepared for the succession planning. But and he mentioned that in the letter that all three are supposed to go, which is him, the chairman, and the joint MD. So it's not just Uday alone, right? Three senior leadership executives leaving. Obviously, this particularly banking is led by leaders and individuals. So that's something which the street was concerned about, was kind of reflecting in the way stock was moving. So I think it removes a bit of an overhang. I think what now the street would want to see is who succeeds. What is the next? They mentioned that they've sent two names, and we have to await RBI approval on who's going to succeed. I think that's something the market will look forward to. In my view, it removes a bit of an overhang. Second, if I remember attending the last earning call, which just happened a few weeks back, where he actually made two very, very bold statements. He said that we spoke about how India's stars are aligned in terms of even geopolitical situation, and then he spoke about that Kotak would dare to be bold and dare to be different. I think those two lines stood out on the earnings call. They have demonstrated that with some of the initiatives they are taking on the deposit and liability side, something like active money, which actually converts surplus balances into FD, which in the short term will have impact on NIMs as cost of deposits goes up. But it's in the right client interest that particular product. So I think you will see probably more bold moves in my view. And if the new leadership team is something what market likes, this could actually can remove the overhang. And it's been a great franchise. I mean, solid bank, very solid risk underwriting and credit underwriting. So I think the next team is what market would want to look at, in my view.
Aditya, do you think because of any regulatory issues or pressure, he might have resigned early, or is it largely to give a handhold to the new person who will be joining in?
Hi, Samit. Good evening. According to me, it's the right time for Uday Kotak to step aside. We've seen that there's been a big overhang on the stock because the market does not really understand who's going to lead Kotak Mahindra Bank from here on. These are big shoes to fill in. There have been instances when Uday Kotak has been at his best, and the shoes that somebody else is going to come in and fill are going to be big shoes. Per se, Kotak Mahindra Bank does not have a problem as a Yes Bank had. Kotak Mahindra Bank's asset book is one of the best asset books that we have seen in the entire country. Uday Kotak's approach of not hiding NPAs and trying to be very transparent in his asset quality has stood out, and the market has that's why valued him at 6 or 7 times price to book. The price to book has now eroded. The valuation de-rating has happened. In my view, market has priced in a change in leadership. Now what the market will try to see is who comes in, what is the new strategy, and if the market could trust the new management as they have trusted Uday Kotak. If that really happens, a re-rating of the stock would happen. Otherwise, I feel that the market has adequately priced in over the last 2.5 years what is going to happen with Uday Kotak, and Uday Kotak is going to leave. So the bank is under a transition phase. But you can count on one person who is Uday Kotak that the transition will be very well managed because he is the largest shareholder. He holds about 29 to 30% of shareholding, and he will continue to stay on the board until I feel he will continue to stay on the board until he sees off this transition and a new management comes in. So net, yes, it is an end of an era where veteran bankers are going away, but we need to look at new leadership coming in and leading all of these banks.
Gurmeet, the street is largely expecting Mr. Manian or Mrs. Shanti to take over Mr. Uday Kotak's place. As per your understanding, who would be the candidates that the company or that the bank might have suggested to RBI?
Difficult to say, but probably will go with the names you mentioned. And I think more importantly, what the street also wants is that more. So obviously, once that issue is settled in terms of the key metrics on which it will be back to business for the bank. So if you see, for example, last quarter, there was a time when HDFC and Kotak used to do 18-20% growth, NII growth of 25% and good asset quality, and they used to command that premium, as Aditya also mentioned about. And now you suddenly have 5-7 banks doing that. In fact, if you see last quarter, Kotak actually did just a 2.5% quarter-on-quarter growth on assets. In fact, the PAT was largely assisted more by other income, which is fee and treasury and etc. So market would want to see some solid leadership both on the asset and liability side, with HDFC literally ramping up the liability war now post the merger. So once, so they will look forward, and the names you took, I think the market should be reasonably happy because they've been at the helm. And, he still is the largest shareholder. I think that they would have proper hand-holding. We've seen that with HDFC Bank. Whenever a leader of that stature steps down, there is some near-term impact. So to say that everything will go, perfectly as per, it's not easy. But I think that it will be back to business. Market wants to see, your key metrics vis-a-vis the other private banks which are showing turnaround. I think that would eventually, it will boil down to once this leadership thing is settled.
Aditya, as we all know that Kotak Mahindra Bank is trading at a significant premium to its larger peers, in fact. And going forward, I believe that smooth transition and improved growth will be the key to sustain these premium valuations. Do you expect this to be taken care of post today's announcement or continue to remain?
See, there needs to be a deeper understanding. Kotak did not trade at a higher valuation because of their growth. Growth was one of the factors. On top of it, Uday Kotak's hindsight, foresight to not lend to those sectors where NPAs were turning out was the biggest criteria for giving a huge premium. Kotak Bank used to trade at about 6 to 7 times price to book at the peak of Uday Kotak's tenure. It was all because of his ability to underwrite in a good way and his ability to duck all the NPAs. So from here on, growth is one of the factors, but ability to duck all the NPAs will be one of the most important factors. From all of the top banks, the one who is able to do that, the market will give them higher premium. So in my opinion, market will look forward to the new management, how much they can trust the new management, how much the new management is very honest, and how much they are able to underwrite as Uday Kotak was able to do. So in my opinion, it will take certain amount of time before a re-rating phase comes back for Kotak. However, the seeds are all in place as the two candidates you said, Shanti Ambakaran and Manian. You will realize that they all have their DNA in Kotak. If they come and lead, the market will have faith that they already know what to do inside the bank. So all in all, re-rating phase will take time. Broadly, the market will now want stability and few quarters of very stable growth and few quarters of developing understanding with the analyst community. So that's what will happen now at this stage. At least 2 to 4 to 6 quarters, market will wait and watch what really happens.
Lastly, Gurmeet, what will be the next key announcement that the street would be watching out from Kotak Mahindra Bank, other than the names of the candidates? Anything on the demerger of insurance business side that you're expecting?
Yeah, I think it is long due. In fact, we've seen that with other banks. I think market would look at that. But as I said, right now the immediate concern would be getting back to business metrics. One piece of it, but that's not the needle moving piece. So if you see from a valuation perspective, it's still high valuation, but it's almost a decade low. So street would want to see more better credit, better growth on the asset side than just 2-3% quarter on quarter. They would want to see the impact on NIMs with this active money initiative they have. Hope it translates into higher liability growth, because that's a trade-off they are banking on. Last quarter, the NIMs actually fell 20 basis points sequentially. There will be more impact as the liability war picks up. And, they want to see more if there is more attrition, because, few people have moved in the leadership team. Some of them have gone to L&T Finance. One of the guys used to head the NR division. So there have been some exits at various verticals. So that's something even, you want to keep a close eye, because whenever you make an internal, senior guy succeed, there will be some, attrition issues also, because it's a bank which has a lot of people who are veterans, right? So those are the things I would like to, keep a tab of. But it has to be back to basics, and market would want to see an industry-leading growth.
That will be all. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Gurmeet, for joining us late this evening. Back to you, Shreyansi.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. Now, the bank is under a transition, but you can count on Uday Kotak for a smooth transition, and that's the word coming in from Aditya Shah. And the street will focus on key metrics like asset quality. That's the word coming in from Gurmeet Chatta. With this, we're timed out on this segment, viewers. See you on the other side.